What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Humm Baby Baseball channel. It's time to continue the Ken Burns baseball series, and we are on inning number 6, the National Pastime. And we're going to get into this. This is another crazy time. It seems like every decade in Major League Baseball history just has a ton of stuff to talk about. So I'm going to send it over to Jim and go ahead and let's start this recap.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, let's dive right into it. There was a lot. The top of the inning, the bottom of the inning. We'll get to the topics from the top of the inning in just a minute. I want to sort of have the open focus on the most important aspects of this inning, maybe of the entire documentary, and that's why I've got my Brookyln Dodgers hat on. No, I did not go out and buy this just for this. I've had it for a couple of years, in case any viewers are wondering. But let's get into it. So the table is set with a story about how the Pittsburgh Pirates tried to sign Josh Gibson in 1943. However, Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis refused. The bottom of the 6 starts with the death of Kennesaw Mountain Landis and the hiring of a new commissioner, Happy Chandler, who said of black ball players joining MLB, they can make it on Okinawa, then they can make it on a ball field. Enter Branch Rickey and the Brookyln Dodgers. Rickey wanted to win and wanted to make money, and he saw the Negro Leagues as the best untapped resource for both. So Rickey sent his scouts out, and they would find Jackie Robinson, who had once tried out for the Boston Red Sox. Branch and Jackie would meet. Rickey told Jackie that he couldn't fight back for the first 3 years if he gave him an opportunity. He'd have to turn the other cheek. That if he didn't, the narrative would turn and backfire on him and Rickey and would ruin everything they were doing. Jackie understood the importance of it all. He knew the whole black race was on his shoulders. And in 1945, Rickey announced that Jackie would play for the Montreal Royals and earn a promotion to Brookyln if he did well. In his first minor league game, he went 4 for 5 and was off and running. On the road, he'd face unequal accommodation and taunts from fans. He played better in the face of the abuse, but was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. During his one and only season in Montreal, he led the Royals to the minor league World Series. During that offseason, between Jackie playing in Montreal and before he got the call to Brookyln, Josh Gibson, at the age of 35, dies before having a chance to see Jackie play in the bigs. That spring, April 15th, 1947, on a Tuesday afternoon in Brookyln, wearing number 42, Jackie took the field in Flatbush to man first base in front of a sold-out Ebbets Field crowd. Jackie would go 0 for 3, but the Dodgers would win 5-3. And thanks to Jackie, the Dodgers would win a lot that season. Jackie was determined to make it because if he were to fail, his people would fail. Red Barber recalled that Jackie was the greatest gate attraction since Babe Ruth. Branch Rickey called Jackie the most competitive player he'd seen since Ty Cobb. But the treatment by those not accepting was despicable. In St. Louis, Enos Slaughter spiked him at first base. In Philadelphia, manager Ben Chapman berated Jackie when he was at bat. All of it, though, continued to fuel him and, as the season went on, his Dodger teammates. And the Dodgers would win the pennant, and Jackie would win the first Sporting News Rookie of the Year. The Dodgers would take the Yankees to 7 games, and despite some big clutch moments, would ultimately fall to the Yanks. The decade closes out as Satchel Paige in 1948 finally pitches in the majors for the Cleveland Indians, tossing 2 shutouts in his first 2 games. And also, in 1948, Babe Ruth, the great Bambino, dies of cancer. So that is our main moment from this inning, the debut of Jackie Robinson, all that he went through to get there. Let me throw it back to you, Eric. Let me get your thoughts. We've been talking about this leading up to this moment, this inning, where our do-overs every single time had to do with that just horribly named gentleman's agreement, which kept the game white, unfortunately. Let's get your thoughts. We're finally there. We finally have baseball becoming a true national pastime with both black and white playing Major League Baseball. Let me get your thoughts.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that anymore because that's been just terrible, and it's a shame. The entire history of baseball, all the way up, to 1947. You had, like you said, they wouldn't integrate the game, and who a big culprit of that is going to be Kennesaw Mountain Landis. I talk bad about Bud Selig. I talk bad about the current commissioner, Manfred. But yeah, at least they're not racist as far as I know. So
Right.
that was bad. So that's just terrible, man. And I'm sure he did some good things for the game, but that's just unforgivable. And yeah, I'm so glad that we're finally at the inning where Jackie Robinson makes his debut, and that luckily went well because that could have
Hmm.
been that could have gone south had he it told him you can't fight back. Branch Rickey said Branch Rickey found the right guy. Let's just say that. And Jackie Robinson was perfect. And but once they got it right and everything seemed to work out, in the long run. So
Yeah.
at least we're through that, and now we have baseball the way it should be going forward, as far as who's allowed to play anyway. So
It was so important that he was as good as he was. If he had faltered, if he wasn't a superstar, then it would have certainly delayed things, right? You watch the inning, and I also after watching this, I went back and watched 42, the movie,
oh yeah.
just because I wanted to just kind of absorb as much of it as I could in the short time that we had. And I know they took a lot of facts out of that because they took a lot of stuff that you learned from watching this inning and they applied it to the movie. But just to to see all that, to relive all that, to understand that he had to do well, he had to put up with so much. It's just kind of at a loss. And one thing that isn't brought up in the open there, but is a big factor, is his own teammates in the beginning. Of course, uh, a lot of them didn't want him there. They had the petition to try to get him off the team and to not play with him because you had a lot of the white Dodgers were uncomfortable with this happening to their team, and luckily Branch Rickey and manager Leo DeRocher told him to shove it, basically. That it wasn't just Jackie coming; there were more coming behind him, and that they needed to pay attention to playing baseball and not the color of their teammates' skin if they wanted to stay in the game. I think that's important. And I also, it's so disappointing that Josh Gibson, in this one, we hear he dies of cancer at just the age of 35, right?
Yeah.
Satchel Paige gets his opportunity with Cleveland, and he was either in his late 30s or early 40s or late 40s. Nobody really knew. He gets an opportunity. Josh Gibson would have gotten an opportunity too to play in the major leagues, but he dies young. Mentioned in the inning, he's kind of was suffering from delusions and um, all sorts of mental troubles that he was having. A lot of it attributed to not making it into the major league. So we lose Josh Gibson, but Satchel gets to pitch. A lot of good stuff out there. Let's jump back. Let's briefly talk about the top of the inning, because we have the summer of 1941 that sort of kicks off this whole inning. That is considered one of the best summers of all time. You have Joe DiMaggio's 55-game hitting streak. You have, I'm sorry, 56-game hitting streak. You have Ted Williams hitting 406. I mean, can you, I know it's kind of, off the cuff here. Can you think of a summer that even comes close to touching, a 56-game hitting streak and somebody hitting 400? It was amazing. It was an incredible season, right? It's got to be the best.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, obviously I wasn't around, so there's some summers that were bigger for me personally, just because I was there,
Sure.
I witnessed them. But as far
Right.
as if I'm just being unbiased and just looking at a baseball season statistically and just the baseball things that happened, yeah, that one's got to be up at the top, very close, no doubt.
He goes in the 56-game hitting streak. He broke a record that had been, 50 years holding, and that was Wee Willie Keeler's 44-game hitting streak. So he destroyed that. And then on top of that, the day after the hitting streak ends, he goes and he starts another hitting streak, hitting 16 games in a row. 72 out of 73 games, Joe DiMaggio had a base hit. Just, you can't touch that. That's
No.
unbelievable. That's got to be an unbreakable streak, right? Is that ever? I mean, you got Cal Ripken's consecutive games. You got Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak. I mean, these got to be untouchable, right?
Yeah, right. Today, if someone's on a 20-game hitting streak, it's a big story. Like, and
Yeah.
they're going to have to do that twice, and that's only 40. you're going to have to pretty much do it three consecutive 20-game hitting streaks,
Mm-hmm.
to break that. It's not
Mm-hmm.
happening. There's no way.
If there was a guy, if there's somebody who could, let's try to pinpoint one. We'll each pick one, and we're going to go off memory here. If you had to pick somebody that has the best skills to get after that hitting streak, maybe make a serious run at 57, is there somebody that you can think of that maybe has the best shot of any current players?
I don't know. It'd have to be someone with just some really good speed too, because I'm imagining some of those games are going to have to run out an infield single or something,
Yeah.
be able to bunt their way on, something like
Yeah.
that. Mike Trout comes to mind, but I don't even know if
Yeah.
how his speed is nowadays. He's I don't
He
know.
doesn't steal. Yeah, he doesn't steal as many bases. I think his base running, his speed's okay. I just don't think he's focusing on stealing because he could get hurt, right? What's the point of getting hurt sliding into second base when you can stay healthy and hit 40 home runs?
That's true.
Yeah, I also think I think he's almost been a forgotten man. But Mookie Betts, you got to have speed, like you said. You got to be hitting at the top of the lineup because you're going to need to have a shot at 5 at bats, right? Because if you go over 4 and you're hitting 7th, that's probably it. But if you go over 4 and you're hitting first or second, you might get another at bat. So Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, they kind of come to mind as some guys that could do that. As far as hitting 400, I don't think there is anybody. I mean, we're at a point now with shifts and with the way pitchers pitch and the way hitters are hitting. Batting average just isn't that important anymore. It's more about some of these sabermetrics. It's more about your on base percentage. Like you see Bryce Harper, his batting average is constantly in the tank, it feels, but his on base percentage is legit. So I don't know. I can't think of anybody that might even sniff 400.
This would be the season if it's going to happen because 60 games.
But will it count? Right? Will it count? Will anybody give it the credit if they only do 60 games? You're right. There's a very good chance that Christian Yelich could go nuts and hit 400 and get an asterisk next to his number.
The sad thing is that the last game of the season, when they're trying, maybe they're at 399, they get that big hit, take them out of the game. It's going to be complete silence. There's nobody's in the stands.
Right. That was and that was one thing to point out. The with Ted Williams hit 406. He wasn't hitting over. He wasn't hitting much over 400 heading into that game. He was 401. Right. And so his final weekend, I believe it was in Philadelphia, he's got a Saturday-Sunday situation. He's got the doubleheader on Sunday. He goes 1 for 4 on Saturday, dropping his batting average to 399. And he's coming up. You got to think there's so much suspense and tension heading into that first at bat, because if you get out, you're just building a bigger hole for yourself. Yeah. But he came out and just ice water in his veins, gets a base hit his first at bat, a home run his second at bat, another hit his third at bat, and went, I think, 6 for 8 in that doubleheader to finish 4-6. Like, the man came in at 399 and raised his average 7 points in a doubleheader when he was hitting that high that late in the season. That's impressive, to say the least.
That's insane.
We also had the other key moment from this inning that I think that's mentionable. It's World War II. So after the 41 season, just a couple months after the Dodgers and Yankees play in the World Series, Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. We end up having the U.S. pulled into World War II. And the significance here is that a lot of major leaguers went off to war. You had 340 major leaguers, over 3,000 minor leaguers that all go to war. And it wasn't like World War I when they were able to sort of just train or avoid combat. That didn't happen here. Warren Spahn was fighting at the Battle of the Bulge. Bob Feller was winning battle stars on a battleship in the Pacific. So, I mean, I think Ted Williams was flying airplanes. So, like, these guys were in it, and they were gone for 3 years. I think we lost about 3.5 years of some peak seasons for guys like Feller and Williams. So this was a big one. I mean, I don't even know. Could you imagine? First off, I can't imagine the world getting pulled into a war again. But if there was a war, could you even imagine what it would be like to lose Mike Trout, guys like that
Yeah,
go off to
that's
war.
just
Could you even imagine it? That's got to be
no,
crazy.
no, I can't imagine it. It even looks funny to see their pictures, in their military uniforms and Ted Williams and stuff. Can you imagine Mike Trout, or something like that?
Crazy.
I mean, I guess it could happen. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I couldn't imagine it. That'd be very strange. We've had some wars, obviously, that haven't, as far as I know, no big major leaguers, participated. But
Mm-mm.
yeah, so it could happen. That would be strange. I don't know how that would work out if they did a draft and they said we need everyone. Maybe it
Yeah.
becomes controversial if you say no.
Right.
So they got to step up to the plate and go.
Yeah. Now, I was looking at some of the numbers, and Hal Newhouser really benefited from World War II. He got into the Hall of
Yeah.
Fame thanks to World War II. He had a career losing record until 1944 when he went 29-9. Again, most of the guys, so many of the stars were overseas. Greenberg, Williams, DiMaggio, they were all overseas. Because when all these guys went off to war, you had a lot of, you had a one-armed man out there. You had old, you had young, you had out of shape guys. So, the talent pool was pretty weak. Quick mention, you had the All-American Girls League, which is, sort of documented in a league of their own. That creeps up in the Midwest. But, so Hal Newhouser, career losing record coming into this situation with World War II. He goes 29-9, wins the MVP, then wins the MVP again, going 25-9. There's nobody to hit against him. He did pitch well in 1946 after everybody was back, was the MVP runner-up that year. But after that, he didn't put up elite numbers again. He didn't do it before it, and he's a Hall of Famer thanks to World War II. It just blew my mind.
Advantage of the situation, I guess.
Very much.
Yeah.
Let's look into elite teams. Let's do that real quick. So Yankees in this decade, 5 World Series appearances and 4 titles. Cardinals, 4 World Series appearances and 3 titles. Listen, this inning had so much going on that they didn't even talk about Stan Musial. Stan Musial came up in like 42, 43, helped lead the Cardinals to these World Series titles. And Brookyln appears in 3 World Series. No wins, though. But it's important to bring them up as a historical team because you had Jackie Robinson coming in, and they had been terrible up until the 40s. So big decade for Brookyln. Big records. You had the 56-game hitting streak. You had 3 MVPs from Stan Musial in the 40s. That's how big he was. 43, 46, and 48. And he doesn't even get mentioned in this thing.
I didn't catch that. I can't believe they didn't mention him.
There's nothing. I think we'll see him in the next inning because his career does span the 40s and the 50s, and they can kind of get back to him. But he sort of got shut out in this one. DiMaggio got 2 MVPs. Williams was 2 MVPs. So there were some big time. Some of the all-time greats really shined in the 40s, despite World War II coming in and taking some things away. Let's hop into some of our categories here. Let me get your let's do your time machine moment. What is out of this? You got Jackie's first game, you've got the 1941 season. You got some good stuff here to choose from. What would be the time machine moment for you that you'd want to hop back in the DeLorean and witness for yourself?
Well, I gotta say that you said Jackie Robinson's first game, and that's got to be not just one of the most historical, one of the most important moments in baseball history, if not right up there, number 1. That is the moment that the game became the national pastime. Before that, you can't really call it the national pastime. So I would have loved to be there and seen that. I don't know how. Maybe I would have heard things I didn't want to hear from the crowd, but still, just to witness that, I would have liked to be there.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think we're right in step together on that. It's got to be Jackie's first game. That's a pivotal moment in the history of the game, even more so than that 1941 season. Because if you were to ask a Major League Baseball fan today, what year did Ted Williams hit 406, or what year did DiMaggio get 56? I don't think they would pinpoint it to 1941. I wouldn't have until I rewatched this. I would have been like, I don't know, 40 something. Even if I might have even thought it was in the 50s. So But everybody knows Jackie Robinson and that first game, and that kind of stuck with everybody. So that I think is the moment to go back and check out. Do-over moment. We're kind of we got through the gentleman's agreement, but you still had about 6 years of it in this decade. You also had World War II. What do you think? What's your do-over moment out of this inning, out of this decade?
I mean, I don't know how you do over some of that stuff, like World War II. That's a world event.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it would have been nice to avoid that whole thing. But just baseball wise, I was thinking of Babe Ruth. We talked about it last time. This is Babe Ruth passes away and never got to manage. I wish in the early 40s, some team would have finally let his dream come true, give him a chance to go manage and see what he could do, because that's what he really wanted to do, and I think he deserved it, but no one gave him a shot. So I know that's kind of it's kind of sad. Just, didn't know how much time he had. So
yeah, I'm with you there. That's good. He certainly could have been managing in the early 40s. Definitely, could have taken over in the late 30s and managed into the early 40s. My do-over will be, World War II and players not being exempt. If there could have been some fashion to do that, I understand that might be selfish, speaking selfishly, but to have players exempt. I know in World War I, the Commissioner Landis tried to get baseball declared an essential wartime operation and to get his players exempted back in World War I. Didn't happen. So certainly wasn't going to happen in World War II. But even still, Bob Feller, the mood then, Bob Feller was quoted in this as saying there was something more important to do than to play baseball. So even if you had gotten some of the players to be exempt, you would have had some players that would have defected and left baseball and gone to fought. But somehow to get some of those years back from Ted Williams and Bob Feller and those guys. I mean, we know they're all-time greats, but we do miss out on peak years for Bob Feller and those guys. Standouts, there's a lot here because you've got, Buck O'Neil talking about the Dodgers. Mine, for me, kind of goes back to when I first watched this when I was younger, when I was a kid. And that was Doris Kearns Goodwin.
Yeah.
Just the way that she talks about baseball and the Dodgers and the relationship with her father and the games and everything, as a kid, that really stood out to me. So I'm going to go back to, 13-year-old or 12-year-old me when I watched this. That was my standout was Doris Kearns Goodwin, and just her recollection and the warmth and the passion with which she speaks of that time, the relationship with her father. Because I think a lot of us, we learn baseball from our parents. They kind of introduce it to us, and there's a special bond there. So for me, it's Doris Kearns Goodwin. How about you?
Yeah, she was real good. I guess I was thinking of Red Barber. He gave a lot of good insight, and I appreciate his honesty. How he felt when Jackie Robinson first was coming up. He didn't like it, and that's not good. But it helped him grow. Helped him mature and realize that's not how you judge people. So I appreciate his honesty, and I thought he had a lot of good insight.
A lot of credit to him, being honest about that. And the way that they edit that too, I think is kind of important because they don't really allude to anything else coming, right? It's just kind of like, he talks about how he didn't like it. He wasn't comfortable with it. He didn't like it and all this other stuff. And then, you watch through and you keep watching, and he kind of, gets back to that and talks about how it helped him and changed him and all this other, stuff. So yeah, red is a good one too. One other note in here that was kind of neat from the inning, Joe DiMaggio streak ended at 56. If he had gotten to 57, he had a $10,000 check and an endorsement with the Heinz 57 company hanging out there. And Ted Williams, during that 406 season, he broke his ankle in spring training and played through it. So there was a lot. There's just a lot. There's a lot of little things like that. A lot of.
Ted Williams, I don't think he got 3,000 hits either because of that.
He didn't. No, because he did not. He missed those. Yep, he missed those seasons. There's just a lot of those oddities and sort of interesting little details in all of these. So it was it was great inning.
Absolutely. It was a great one. And I'm so happy we're going to finally move on to a game where everyone's included, and we're going to have some great baseball to talk about. So did you have anything else?
I'm good. I think we covered it all.
Okay, so appreciate you guys joining us today in inning number 6. Look out for inning number 7 coming up very soon. That'll be over on Jim's channel. So thank you so much, guys. You have a fantastic day. Hit that subscribe button. You know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button. And we'll talk to you next time. See ya.